All right, so we're at Micro Center and we're gonna try and pick some parts here to build an inexpensive PC that's also gonna double as a full-on retro console emulator. Never actually done that before. We recently did the video where we showed you guys the Pyroman 5 that had like 10,000 retro games, but obviously the Raspberry Pi is only capable of so much, so we thought, well, hey, why don't we come here with the intent to build an inexpensive PC, that way you can do retro gaming and then through PC. So that'd be pretty cool. And technically you can do what we're gonna show you with your current PC by just using another drive or potentially a partition within your drive to use Batocera's distro, which is, they've done an amazing amount of work to make sure that that's all pretty easily plug and play. So it's kind of two purposes for this video. We're gonna build the system to specifically be for that use case, and it can also show you how to do this on your own system if you already have one.
So Jay likes boats.
USS Fletcher, torpedoes, and agility.
No. He really likes boats.
I'm the Bismarck, I shoot big guns. Oh no!
He really likes boats.
The IJN Yamato, the true fear in the Pacific.
And when he's not playing with his boats, he is building his boats.
Done.
And when he's not building those boats, he's playing with those boats. Online, in World of Warships.
Since 2015, millions of captains have taken to the seas in World of Warships, and now it's time to celebrate 10 incredible years with the Grand Voyage Anniversary event. Every month brings refreshed content, new ships, nations, cosmetics, all battling out in a stunning 12v12 arena. And with over 40 beautifully remastered maps featuring dynamic weather and jaw-dropping water effects, the action has never looked better. Dominate with warships, outmaneuver with destroyers, command aircraft carriers, or bring the firepower of cruisers, play solo or sail into battle with friends in Divisions mode, the choice is yours. New players join today with the invite code XVOYAGE to instantly unlock the Japanese cruiser Tenryū, 20 days of premium, and unlock even more rewards by completing combat missions, leading to the largest promotion of rewards in World of Warships history. And for returning captains, there are exclusive win-back bonuses waiting just for you. World of Warships is free to play on PC, and yes, it's on console too with Legends. So honor the past, command the present, and celebrate 10 years at sea in World of Warships.
So yeah, he really likes boats.
Yeah.
So in terms of computational power, we don't need much. We really don't. I mean, we need, okay, so we want to make sure that obviously we can run our emulators up through, potentially even PlayStation 2, maybe PlayStation 3, but we don't want to limit how far into PC gaming we can go too. So for instance, if we were to cheap out on our hardware too far, then playing more modern games or even games in the last few years at many respectable settings probably would be difficult. But I think any even low-end hardware that exists today was probably going to be just fine to obviously play the classics. I mean, we're talking about Counter-Strike, Half-Life, Dead Space, games that don't take a ton of horsepower to run today. Because I think that this would be just an awesome single box to kind of cover all of it. So I'm looking at the bundle deals right now at Micro Center. One that's kind of caught my eye right here. For $299, there's AMD Ryzen 5 9600X with an Asus B650E and a G-Skill Flare X5 16GB stick of RAM. It's only one stick. So that's the only downside there, is I would prefer to have 2 sticks of RAM for obvious reasons. Yeah, that seems to be the best possible bundle right now. And that's an MATX board too, which is kind of nice. That means we can keep the tower kind of small, because I'm thinking this is the kind of thing that might even live in the living room. So like small form factor would be nice, but if we go ITX, then unless we find some really budget ITX boards, I don't think we're gonna find an ITX setup that keeps it cheap. Okay, update on the bundles. First of all, ignore the prices you see on the stickers. Those aren't the actual prices. So they were out of the motherboard, both motherboards that were available with the bundle for the 9600X at $299. I guess that makes sense. That's a pretty aggressive bundle deal, so I'm not surprised that it went that fast. So what we did was we did a B650M Prime certified refurbished. So hopefully it doesn't come back to bite us. But remember, Micro Center does have a lot of open box like motherboards and some GPUs and stuff. So consider the open box stuff if you're trying to save money. 9600X right here, obviously, that is ringing up at $179. The motherboard's coming up at $99. And then because we're not bundling anymore, the bundle only had a single stick of RAM. We could have added a second stick for $50, so I was gonna really call it $350 because I was always planning on doing the extra set of or stick of RAM just for proper dual channel. So we're running this T-Create. Is that the brand T-Create? Yeah, I guess so. T-Create. They should have a higher end brand called Procreate. So this now comes out to $382. That's a bit more than the $350 I was looking towards. So it's about $32 more than I was expecting to spend, but whatever, it is what it is. I mean, you snooze, you lose, right? So we didn't get here in time for any of that bundle stuff. Who knows what they'll have by this weekend. Hopefully they get, watch, we'll leave, and then they'll be like, oh, the truck came. All right, so we're already at $382. Now I wanna talk about the graphics card. We were looking at like, okay, we'll go AMD. The card doesn't matter in terms of it's like support in gaming for Linux, because the only thing we're gonna be doing on the Linux side is just doing the emulator. So the GPU is really not gonna be doing nothing. So it doesn't matter whether or not you take a gaming hit in Linux, like we've already talked about. This is about us supporting the PC gaming side of it. So when we have our dual boot for our Windows with PC gaming, we don't want to leave too much performance on the table. So my overall budget here was to try and keep it as close to $1,000 or below as possible, which to me, we could have built it even cheaper, but the goal here was not to build the cheapest gaming PC we possibly could. It's to build the, I think, most cost effective, and I already said that. So the 7600 XT that they have here, we were looking at that, but then I compared it on our charts, and the 7600 XT on our charts and our testing has been like the bottom or the bottom two graphics card in every single one of our tests, and it's $359 for the cheapest one they have here. But then we found there's a 5060 Prime by Asus. No, not choosing Asus on purpose, it's just that's the cheapest one they have for the 5060 at $299. And I found a 5060 Ti by Gigabyte, it's the dual card, and that's $379. That's $50 more than I was gonna spend on the 7600 XT, so let's take the 5060 aside, which outperforms the 7600 XT in every single chart by a fair amount. But if we can get a 5060 Ti to fit in the budget, that's even better. So let's go ahead and before we do the graphics card, let's go ahead and get our power supply. Let's go ahead and get our cooler, which will be like really inexpensive cooler, like some cheap little tower cooler. So we need power supply, case, storage, and cooler. So let's get those and see what we're left with. 29 bucks, Montech NX400, no RGB, no extra fluff there. There's no RGB in any of this stuff, so why would we put it here? $29. We could have saved $4 and gone with like the, where is it? Right here, the Assassin X120 by Thermalright. But that being a silverish tower, is this one also silver? It is, but I like the E28 fan. We just saw those on their AIO, and the E28 fan is pretty amazing. So $4 extra, the Montech. There we go. All right, so for power supplies, this is one of the things we kind of sorted by lowest price first. Sticking at 600 watt as our minimum. There are 500 watts that are cheaper. It's $65 as a price. That's the 69. But $65. It's A plus gold, 5-year warranty, 600 watt, no modular. It doesn't matter. This is not a frills build. So we're gonna go with that. Okay, so we have a 512 drive, which is a Gen 3. It's pretty slow. It's really a no frills drive. Inland is the house brand with micro center. So if there was a problem with the drive, just bring it back to the store. And then we have a Gen 4 QN450, 1 terabyte by Inland for our PC, our Windows gaming. That is up to 5,000 megabytes for read and 3,500 for write. So bigger and faster for PC games, so it's gonna need it. Let's go take a look at our, actually let's add this up, Pablo, let's see where we are now, because I have a feeling we're gonna be able to fit that 5060 Ti in here. So crazy, it's even cheaper. So it said, I thought it said $379 on the website, but then right now he said it's actually the 5060 Ti dual from Gigabyte is actually $359 or $349, right?
The WindForce OC.
Yeah, $349. Oh, it is the WindForce OC, not the dual.
Different from the dual, yeah.
There's no reason to spend $20 more. They're essentially going to perform the same, especially for what we're doing. So it is a pretty basic card, $349. The prices have definitely come down on the 60 Ti's. And those of you yelling at me, but AMD, the AMD right now does not have anything in this price point. The 7600 XT is all that's here in that price point, and this absolutely curb stomps all over the 7600 XT. So it would be really stupid for me to, out of spite, buy a 7600 XT when this is the same price as the card we were gonna look at, and it is significantly faster in magnitudes of like 2x. Not bad. And that brings our grand total before case to $922.92. Okay, so we got this Inland X1, which we're gonna use. It's got 4 fans included. It's got an exhaust fan that's RGB and 2 intake fans that are RGB. Well, they're gonna light up. Whether or not you can control them, I doubt, because the power plug on them is Molex, and they're probably all like daisy chained together like a big chunk of Molex, but that's fine because it's $50 and it includes 4 fans. That actually means that prior to tax, we were able to keep it underneath our parts budget. So we've got that in our cart right there. I guess we go get ourselves a grand total before we head back and build it. All right, so the subtotal is $972.91. We have $75 in tax here in Orange County, bringing it to $1,048. So slightly over. I was trying to keep it as close to $1,000 as possible. If you were on like a hard $1,000 limit, including tax, then basically we would have had to do that one stick of RAM, which would have brought it down to about half the price, which would have then, because it was $100 for that set, so it would bring us down to $998 with tax at that point. So this is the Power Man 5 that kind of really sparked today's video. Here is the $1,000 build we did right here that takes us basically from this into PC gaming. It's like we want to put retro gaming in a modern PC.
Done.
There. You don't even have to have a separate computer for this or a Raspberry Pi. It's just fun to do it on a Raspberry Pi because it's so powerful given versus any of the consoles of the time. But you'll notice, like, PlayStation 2 and all that were absent from this because you do reach a hardware limitation of where this can emulate and meet the requirements of the more modern systems. But obviously by doing this on a PC, we're not limited by the hardware, so we can go all the way up to what, PS4 and Switch. So you could literally have every game on all the consoles. Like, you know, you talk about the Last of Us when it was new and PlayStation 4 or 3, right? I think it came on 3. I never had a PlayStation 3. Like the first PlayStation I ever owned was a PlayStation 4, like with the exception of the first PlayStation. I don't really count that because that goes back to when I was in high school. Okay, I'm talking like freshman, sophomore year, not even kidding. But yeah, so having a $1,000 computer like this can play games no problem for today. Like 5060 Ti is no problem running even AAA titles at 1080p medium for like Cyberpunk, and even higher settings when it comes to like older titles, especially if you want to start getting into more retro PC gaming. And by retro, it's not that old, but like the original Half-Life, you know, the original Counter-Strike, stuff like that. You know, just classic games. This would obviously run it no problem. So essentially, for just a little bit more than the cost of like a PS5 with a Sony subscription and all that, you now could have every console kind of covered by doing this. Now you can do this too. So if you're like, well, I don't need to build a system, I have a system, then you can just kind of ignore everything we talked about with the building of the computer. And then you would basically just have to download Batocera, which is a Linux distro that's specific for retro gaming. Like the whole distro exists for retro gaming. Now, we have some nuances here that we had to talk about though. For instance, it said on the website, you know, covers all modern GPUs. Well, that was modern for January 2025 when the last official version 41, came out, which didn't include 50 series. Obviously, it supported up to 40 series because of the latest NVIDIA driver that was preloaded in Batocera. The problem is there has not been an official update to Batocera. So we had to then go and install the version 42, which is a beta, to include the 50 series drivers. It's kind of surprising to me that we're 9 months into 50 series and they still haven't made it official. So the way we kind of figured that out quickly was by putting a 40 series in and it worked. Like we threw a 4060 in there and it worked. And then we found a Reddit post where people were talking about like, hey man, my 5060 doesn't work, my 5060 Ti doesn't work, etc. And then we realized the beta includes it, and the beta is working fine for us. Now, obviously it's not going to include any of the ROMs themselves for the games. It does include like one Commodore 64. I think it has like 13 games that kind of come pre-installed on Batocera, which is kind of part of the project. But if you want to find the ROMs and install them, either you need to have the ROM already or have the old cartridges and stuff, and you need to kind of rip those ROMs, which is kind of an involved process. There are ways you can get them, obviously. We're gonna just tiptoe that line of being very careful of how we word that, but there are ways to get them, okay? And obviously that's up to you guys. Now I'm not gonna even show you the Windows install. Now we haven't configured Grub yet to allow us to be able to just select, like when you push power and it'll turn on and give us like, hey, do you wanna boot to Windows or do you wanna boot to Batocera or do you want it to boot automatically to the last loaded drive or last loaded bootloader? We haven't set that up yet. So right now it's set to just go directly to Batocera. And if we want to boot Windows, we actually have to go into the BIOS and switch the boot priority, which is a very labor-involved way of doing it. That should not be the case. We just haven't, like I said, configured Grub yet. So with that said, I have the glass panel off so you guys can see no glass reflections, but I've got my Xbox controller. We'll just power that on. And yes, the fans are RGB in the sense that there is a green LED, a red LED, and a blue LED in there, and a few others probably. They don't move, they don't do anything funky, they just power on, which is fine, because they came with the case and it was $49. We have 4 fans. Oh, and I want to point this out. We had to change our drive. 512 gigabytes was only going to get us up to, where was it? What was going to get us up to?
Probably PS, like, not including PS1.
Yeah, we figured out what was actually taking up it was like 1.5 terabytes of that 2 terabyte drive on there was actually full. And we figured out like, oh, well, you saw that there was a little intro, right? These videos that are playing take up a ton of space. And it's funny because on the retro games, the video file itself is orders of magnitude larger than the entire game. It's just a few seconds of video. We just thought that was pretty funny. So obviously, Gran Turismo 2, every car guy had this at some point. But I'm in the R32 here doing a top speed run. The Rivian's faster than this thing. If I go to, let's just say Dreamcast right now, and I load a game, right? It's gonna be all super tiny in the middle because it's kind of playing it at its quote unquote base resolution, if you will. So let's say within Dreamcast, if I just now did select, then I can go down here to advanced system options, I can put down a video mode, and then I can set it to, you know, maximum, let's just say, right, 4K, 144 hertz, that's what the panel is. Game aspect ratio, 4:3, and then that's it. Now everything within that emulator is scaled up. So I have to do that for every one time. That's what kind of stinks about it. But man, I never had a Dreamcast, but I always thought they had such a cool like intro. I don't even know what I started. Did I start like a fishing game? Oh, this is that off-road 4x4 Evo. I had this on computer. I actually had it on computer. Dude, I'm in Xterra. It's off-road, bro. Yeah. Oh shoot. Okay, but because this stops at PlayStation, we wanted to see like a PlayStation 2 game. So we quickly got one of our discs and ripped it. Dude, it's in a 350Z, a DE too.
And that was new.
Oh, because it's 2003. That was brand spanking new.
Freaking new, dude.
Little John, man, the East Side Boys. It was in every nightclub at the time. Yeah. Watch the tutorial videos for hints and tips on how to master drag and drift mode. Whoa, whoa, nailed it. Remember, you find yourself going left hard enough, you find yourself turning right. Whatever the hell Doc Johnson said, or not Doc Johnson, that's a, Doc Hudson. Doc Johnson is a totally different thing. Let's do Punch Out real quick. Imagine telegraphing your punch like that. Dude's 42. Could you imagine being a 42-year-old? Oh, I guess George Foreman did actually have the title in his 40s, but still, it actually feels better than playing on my actual my NES Classic.
That's funny.
And he's down. 50 seconds to defeat him. See, you have to remember, like, I remember, like, oh yeah, his attack, you have to block him. You have to have enough energy to block him. You can't dodge him, yeah. All right, I think we get the point, right? So anyone can turn any of their PCs into an emulator. Now, obviously, like I said, there are a lot of ways you can get the ROMs. We're not gonna go into those ways, but you guys are smart. You guys are tech savvy. My audience knows how to do these things. So might as well, at the very least, if you have an available slot in your motherboard and you already have a computer, put a drive in there and start playing with old school retro gaming. We all know games suck today, like they really do. In fact, I was even watching a CEO of a dev studio, I can't remember which one, I think it was one of the old school Nintendo developers or something, was saying games today are terrible. People lose attention faster than ever. I'm more excited to play these right now than anything that's out today. So I don't see why you shouldn't do this, especially if you already have a system, it's just throw a drive in there. But I wanted to show you don't have to spend a crap ton of money to enjoy PC gaming and retro gaming. And although stuff like this is really cool, like the portability of this is what makes it really nice. Obviously Punch-Out would play on this just fine. PS2, no, this is really not strong enough to do the PS2 stuff, not so much. But the portability of this is nice. Like, I can get ready to go on vacation next month, and I kind of want to bring this with me and a controller and an extension cord, because it's just HDMI and I can plug that into like the hotel TV and have no problems playing this. And I think I might actually end up doing that. So there you go, guys. Thanks to Micro Center for sponsoring the parts that we used for this video. I'm glad we made it all work with the parts that we got, with the exception of the drive. As you can see, I threw in my 2 terabyte Western Digital Black because we realized, okay, we really underestimated how many actual games do we have right now? I'm curious, let's see. It took so long, by the way, for us to find all these cartridges and discs and stuff, I'm just gonna say. There are 11,689 titles on here, so as you can imagine, Can you imagine how much 11,000 Steam games would take for space? Anyway, yeah, we're gonna have this permanently set up somewhere. We really need like a couch setting now, where we just have like a couch and a TV and like a coffee table. Like what we might actually do for a video is I'm gonna try and find like an old wooden console TV and gut it and put a TV behind it. Right? Like put a TV in there.
Modern one.
Yeah, and then just literally have this be what looks like a old school retro gaming station. Like I feel like I need to find a plaid couch, right? A grandma wooden coffee table. We need some water rings on it, you know?
Yeah.
I think we need that, but where is it gonna go? I guess upstairs. All right, guys, thanks for watching. And hopefully this has sparked some interest in getting you guys into more retro stuff. I really wanna start doing more retro stuff. I do have actually a retro system. I just haven't taken the time yet to find an AGB graphics card, which is not hard to find, to start playing the retro games on their original system. That's the only way this can get better, is instead of emulating it, which is there's a bit of learning curve. Like you saw, we had to change some settings, and Phil had to, figure out what was happening with the distro and the fact that the driver wasn't working and whatnot. But real retro gaming is amazing when you have the console in front of you and you're flipping through your stacks of CDs for PlayStation or your old, I had all the sleeves with all the cartridges for my Nintendo and the SNES cartridges and the Sega Genesis. Oh, Altered Beast, hold on. Now, obviously, we didn't show you guys how to set up the ROMs and stuff, like assuming you have them. So if you guys want to see a full tutorial, maybe on how to install Batocera, going from like, you're at the website, you have your system, you have your drive, how to go from that to playing like this, and even understanding some of the menu system, like we had to show like what some of this means, how you have to go, you have different options for every emulator. So if you guys want maybe like an ultimate tutorial on how to go from, I want to do this, to playing games, then make sure you like this video and comment down below that you guys want to see that. Because although it is quirky, and there's some steps and there is a learning curve to it to get everything moved over, to get the thumbnails and all that stuff working and whatnot, it is leagues better than trying to set up each one of these emulators individually, like with its own, like on its own case. So Batocera is a great place to start, but just downloading Batocera is only the start. There's a lot more involved in getting the games to work. So if you want us to show you that process, please throw us a like and comment down below. All right, guys, I'm gonna get back to Altered Beast. It's a terrible game. It is so bad, but it is my childhood.